Let me know if you could hear me now, John. And I'm sorry about this, guys. Apologize. And if it's clear, give me 1 second. Muted still, John says. Give me 1 second, guys. Let's see if I can hear myself here. I guess it didn't show up. Okay. It's up here. I guess it didn't show up. Okay. Okay. I guess it's okay. Thanks, John. You know what, John, and others, if you're listening, when I put the big screen, thanks, DJ Grave Mix. I'm gonna put on the big screen. Let me know if you can hear me. You probably can, but let's just see. Let's just see. I'll go on the full camera, and you guys tell me if you can hear me now or you can't. And I'm gonna see it here. Actually, I guess I can tell here if that is the case. Here. I guess it didn't show up. Can't. Okay. And I'm gonna. I guess you guys can. Okay. You guys can hear me on the big screen and the small one. Good. That's rare. That's rare, but good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'm just gonna go through table form a little. I was just thinking about it the old day, just checking out some stuff. So I wanted to go over it, and also, if anyone is interested, let me know if you're looking to. Thanks, John. Big screen and small, perfect. I don't know why it does it. I think it's when the updates happen, then have to change it back to some level that was already. I don't know. Anyway, let's just go through table for one. This was, if I've discussed it before, I'm sorry about that. I don't want to repeat myself, but I think it's pretty cool. Where was I? It must have been at Mocha or SPX. Those were the two main small press conventions I used to go to. And I was prepared because after sitting on table for one for a year, going through publishers and going through Dennis Kitchen was my agent at the time, also agent of Will Eisner, which was, I gotta say, it was pretty wild. I was corresponding with Steve Ditko and Alex Toth, and then I shared the agent with Will Eisner. Name dropping, all right, but still, I got a real kick out of it. I gotta say, it was pretty wild. All these greats, interacting with them in some capacity. Anyway, so I sat on a table for about a year. Random House was the one that was most interested in it, but that kept going and going, and I was itching to get it out because I had finished, I think, at that point for a year and a half at least. To sit on a finished book, your first book, for that long, I wouldn't. Antsy is not the thing. It's just that I wanted to break into this field that I loved with this comic that I thought was pretty different. A different setup. It takes place one night in an underground restaurant in Manhattan. How many comic book publishers are going to publish that? I guess none, because it was a book publisher who was looking to publish it, who didn't even publish graphic novels at that time, which was interesting. Anyway, so I got it. Finally, I say, you know what? I'm going to self-publish it. That was it. I'm going to self-publish it. And right out of the gate, I sold out of 1,000 copies, my first printing. I got another 1,000. I sold out of those. That was pretty... Okay, looking back, right? You talk to fellow small press cartoonists, and when they heard that, they're like, whoa, that's a big deal. And I was I want to sell a whole lot more. Let me turn this off. Okay. I want to sell a lot more, and I wanted to reach a lot more audiences, but it was really impactful to me because I got my first book out. It was black and white on purpose. It wasn't because I couldn't afford color. I wanted it in black and white, like an old classic movie. The black and white morality of this book also. Very cool, John. John said, I spent some time in the restaurant world. The cable phone brought back memories. It's a good job to have part-time while you're doing something else. Whether you're going to school, whether you're an artist, it's good because you make a good amount of money for a short time period. I was working, I think, at one point only dinners, so that give me time in the day and after work. There were times when I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning after work, because I had to get the work in. And I said, you know what? I want to use that world, that mini society with all these characters, and have it like its own society, like its own structures. You got good, bad, and ugly, and evil, and gray, and white, black and white, and so on. And they all clash, within a story. And I pushed it a little further than what would happen in natural, in a restaurant. Of course, why not? It's a comic book. I can do whatever I wanted to. Yeah, yeah. I did think about a color edition, John, at one point, and I could never bring myself quite to do it. I could never quite bring myself to do it. Thanks, David L. I appreciate it, man. Excellent, excellent. That's great. I mean, that it's very different than Pigman. I will say that, very different. The theme, the idea, the style, the story, clearly. Um, let me go and show you something quick. If you haven't seen it, let me show you. Um, Give me 1 second, guys. I did at least color the cover of my potential color version. But it just, again, I couldn't bring myself quite to do it. I don't know why it didn't quite, I don't know. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna do this. I guess I can show you. No, that's not the one. That's not the one. No, there was another one that I did. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. I just gotta find this. I got it in the. And then I also did some alternate cover ideas as well, which I can show you guys as well. This ain't cutting it. This is not cutting it. I know I went through a few iterations, but let me just show you quick these two cover ideas that I had as alternatives to the color edition. They're real rough. They're real rough, but just to get an idea of what it could look like. And on the cover, I would have the I walked through the crowded room, not a soul in sight, which seemed to resonate with people pretty much. Give me 1 second. I'm going to do this. It might be here in another file. I'll get back to your comments in 1 second. It's taking a sweet time here. Where the hell is it? I'm very surprised. I can't find it anywhere. The color. No. Anyway, sorry guys. I wasted your time here. Sucks. But let me just pull this up quick here. It's a real rough. The cover. Just a different take on the cover. I got this one here. Deluxe cover edition. And this one. Just walking through the room, I walked through the crowd room, not a soul in sight, have it as part of the cover as well. Because for a time, the back cover was the cover. I just couldn't fit it well graphically on the cover because it's a really long panel. It wouldn't, unless there's a lot of black on top and a lot of black on bottom. I don't know. It could have worked. I did use it as back cover. And if you haven't seen it, let me show you. David, maybe you want to skip this thing because I'll be going through some things that happen here. I don't want to ruin the story for you. So maybe come back to it when you get the actual book. But let me try this. Interesting. Okay, it doesn't quite do it. Okay. Interesting. It doesn't have, oh, okay. There it goes. Here it is. Here is the back cover. And I guess it was the second page of the digital version on Comixology / Kindle. So here's my signature shot. It ended up being the signature shot. I didn't set out to do it that way. It just ended up being that way. This was the image that got Joe Quesada, or I call him sometimes Joke Asada, interested in maybe publishing it for Marvel, which was, he goes, I love that. You got more? I said, I got 81 pages of a completely written, penciled, inked, graphic novel. He says, send it. I sent it. He got really sick. He got in the hands of Axel Alonso, the communist editor. Hey, Roland K. How's it going, man? Doing well. How have you been? And he got in the hands of Axel Alonso, who 100% threw it in the garbage. 100%. And then, think about that. Your first book, you send it out to the master, and you don't know what to expect. You know that the master can be cruel to his own work and the work of others. And he ripped Steve Rude, who's a great artist. He ripped one of his stories, and he sends me this beautifully handwritten postcard with some incredible thoughts about Table of One. Loved it. Blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. And so this was the signature shot. Ended up being, again, I thought about making it a cover. And if anything, I could have made it a cover, I guess, if I cut this down to here, made it bigger on the cover, and then on top Table of One, on bottom Bosch Fawson, I guess. But I just like the full image here of showing the crowded room. You want to show the crowded room, not just imply it. It's packed. And also blending the black all in. Every time you see Will in the story, his black clothes are always blended with a black round. I call it the black round. And that was cool. So let me go through a few things here. And then it opens up with the line where Will is a waiter and a writer. He works as a waiter to pay his bills. David L says, I worked in restaurants and there's a lot of interesting characters in that line of work. There sure are. Sounds good. Have a good one, Bosch. Thanks, David L. Yeah, it's just better to check out and maybe come back after you read it. Again, it's not like it's thanks, Transmitted Jack. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. And the balance of black and white, that was always something that I loved in artists, and I try to be conscious of it. Sometimes you're not as conscious as you'd like to be, unfortunately, because then you look back and say, oh shit, I could have done that better. I could have done. But hopefully try to give yourself a shot to make it the best you can make it while you're doing it, and not in retrospect. But yeah, so, and the entire book was brush inked. It was inked in a brush. Everything here. The panels probably were with a pen, probably. Even though I remember seeing John Buscema, and it is Buscema because that's how he was referred to by Stan Lee in the How to Draw Comics Marvel way with John Buscema, and he didn't protest. So people call it Buscema. This sounds like more Italiano, But and this garnered me a Will Eisner Award nominee. I'm an Eisner Award nominee, which is incredible, and the Russ Manning Most Promising Newcomer Award nominee. It's a big deal for me because, again, I did not want to enter in some 4-page short story written by someone else and butchered in the inks and colors and whatnot. I said, look, I want to stand on my own. I want to write pencil ink letter, gray wash it, edit it, ship it out, publish it and ship it out. That was important to me. And there's something to be said about that, because once you send it out there, you show publishers that you can get things done. They say 81 pages all on your own. That's what I kept getting from Dave Sim and others, Warren Ellis and others, and they said something along the lines of, "Okay, that's a big thing," because usually, again, people show some samples, right? That's it. Here, I had my first book, 81 pages, written, penciled, inked, lettered, and again, gray washed, and it was just exciting as hell to enter the field with something very different, very unique. And again, it opens up with that line, just slightly a little different. He walked into the crowded room, not a soul in sight. And then it goes from that to him in first person saying, I walked into a crowded room, not a soul in sight. When he's actually in the crowded room, and he's not feeling that good. I'm going to skip some stuff here. Again, it's not those kind of things where it's what do you call that? Cliffhangers and stuff. No, it's a self-contained story. But let me just go through a few things. And again, here also, I get to put things in this world. That's my world. It's my fictional world that I would want to see. I would want to see Cyrano de Bergerac on Broadway. I love that play, love that story. And the 1950 version, if you haven't seen it, guys, I saw the Gerard Depardieu. I saw a lot of different versions. Of course, the Steve Martin one, Roxanne and all that. But the one in 1950 by Jose Ferrer that he starred in, it doesn't get better. He won an Oscar for the movie. He did it on Broadway for a number of years. He had what they call a stentorian voice, a very powerful, commanding voice. And he made the most of it in this movie. 1950, Cyrano de Bergerac. Check it out if you haven't. I got the Blu-ray. It's as good as it gets. And the story's great. And the performances are great. And so that's what I want to see in my world. I want to see Cyrano de Bergerac on Broadway. I think Kevin Kline played it. I just never got a chance to see it. And also, I don't know if it's on video. If it is, I'd love to get it. But yeah, so little things like this, like he's going through the city, right? And the kid, he still has lights in his eyes, looking up at the big buildings, like, wow, this guy's burnt out. She's looking at Will. The bum is looking at her. And then here, I just try to imply something while I have the chance. These metal pieces here don't look as friendly with the pointed. The arrow says, go back, don't go that way. Those little things. I think on a subliminal level, you might be affected by that. Not consciously, or maybe even consciously. But you're just reading it because you're reading the words and you're looking at that. You're not necessarily thinking about, wait, is that a warning sign to some extent? And then sottoterra, underground, hell, basically. It's an underground restaurant, and he goes down into hell. And if you look from here on out, in the Pigman comic, I have the two different stories. In the cartoonist story, in the Killian story, I have open gutters. The space between the panels, it's open white. In the Killian story, it's black. Excuse me. In the Pigman story, which is a more hopeful story, because jihad's getting its ass kicked, unlike the real world in Killian's world. Not that our soldiers aren't doing their job, but our government isn't unleashing them. So that's the point. Hail, Marcus. So yeah, so this is a ristorante a sottoterra, and he goes down, and he says, "I'm coming down," and he enters. I got a little back and forth. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I'm gonna skip some, but this page in particular, right? He walks in. It's really hot. He goes, "Cheap bastard! The air conditioner only gets turned on for customers. It gets turned on, for customers. You could take that two ways." He says, "What's up, cooked?" He calls them cooked because they're cooked. Everyone's rips each other. That's the way it always was in a restaurant, especially with guys. It's all guys. So, hey, Will, guess you got to work like the rest of us, huh? He goes, "Yeah, I don't mind getting my hands dirty," as he shakes the guy's hand. Dirty. He's mocking him by saying that. And then he got Massimo. The only Italian guy in the entire restaurant is a black guy from Italy. Will, Massimo, he goes, "You're finally getting some color, kid." He goes, "Yeah, my fair skin burns easy." He was on the roof writing. He goes, "Oh, really now? And what? My skin's unfair?" He goes, "Good one. Good one." And he starts laughing. He goes, "It's getting tired, old man." He had a little, Will had some the fatigue years before it was actually put words. That's hilarious. Even though he's just joking with them. And then you got Kripnik Ashvagula. That's his name, but he calls himself Johnny Schwag. And if you look at Kripnik, you see his hair, and there's a video that I made about it. Let me show it here. There's a video I made about it, but I'm going to show you guys here. That's his hair, right? It's really greasy, right? Really olive oil in there and slick, right? And he has a curly mullet that he permed. But if you look close, it's not just grease, like really, really tight. It's actually a silhouette. And the silhouette is of an ass and lips about to kiss it, because he's an ass kisser. I got to fix that right there. God damn it. In the other file, I guess I can do that. I think I did it for the 2018 print, another print version that I did. But look, guys, you see it there? And there he is. And when he's in the act, he gets right in there. You see it from all different angles also. It was a fun way to put these hidden things in the drawings that would not necessarily, the reader would not necessarily be conscious of. And then here, this is the Ass King, Richard DeGrado. He's the boss, and he has a clearly obvious what his nose is and what his chin is. And look at his chair. He likes to kiss ass, and then he puts his cigarettes in his ashtray. Anyway, let me skip a few here. I'd love to go through a lot, but let me show you here. This was pretty fun. This whole design here was fun here. And if anyone is interested, those who have 201, who like it, let me show you something that might interest you. This was old cover. This was, if you remember, on one of the auctions that Ethan had, I had the white and black version of this, meaning it was inverted. The black on here was white on there, and his shirt was, I think, black in that one. Here it is the opposite. If anyone is interested, let me know. You can message me on X, give me an offer. It's 14 by 17, bigger than most. Check it out. So it's an early cover. Early cover. And also, if anyone's interested as well, I got this as well. The fold-out cover for the final cover on the campaign for Pigman. Let me know. Again, give me an offer on X. And then there was something that I found, actually. It was something I found. This is an old school project at the School of Visual Arts. And I remember we were going around the city. We were traveling around the city, walking around the city, and being told to take pictures of the subways and the streets and this and that, and then make it into some kind of visual comic. And I think we had a model that day as well, and this was what he ended up, I think that's what he looked like. I think it was a black guy. And this is what I came up with. This is over 20 years. Longer than that, actually, before Team of One. Dusk Visual Arts. And it was fun doing these type of things because it's, again, forcing you to not just to screw around and doodle and sketch, but to actually write pencil, ink, letter, and do the works. So let's get back to this quick. So this was my way of showing the owner of the restaurant. That's him, clearly, right? Coming out of his own head, and you see his shape there. And he's standing here and looking upon the room, right? Surveying his domain, right? And everyone's in gray except Will, because he's looking at Will. It's not obvious. And I don't really need you to know that 100%. It's just a cool thing for myself just to put it in there. He's focused on Will. They have a little thing going. It's, he wants to break him. Anyway, so they're talking here, and then he goes, "You heard that bitch on table 1? Which one?" As in they're all bitches. And you got the ice buckets here for the wine, right? Or champagne. Crashes them all down. I thought that was a pretty cool way of just showing it. Crash. He goes, grip, as in rip. Rest in peace. Clean it up. He goes, "It was Lou. It was Lou. It was Lou." He's blaming it on the old guy. And he goes, "Via, porco, via." I used to hear that in restaurants, whether it was Italian, actual Italian guys or Albanian guys who owned the restaurant. The Albanians tried to pass themselves off as Italian. Some of them did better than others. They actually looked it and sounded it. And my uncle actually was born in Italy and spent some time there before he came here. So, via, porco, puerco. I think porco is Italian, puerco is Spanish. And then you got the double page spread here. And this was my time to, this is my opportunity to, in the meantime, while I was prepping, because at this point I already knew I had Pigman in the works. I knew that I was already figuring it out. And I wanted to get some commentary. And I thought the best way to do that was not with the main character, with the others, but with just conversations across the restaurant. And I did. I made a number of comments about 9/11 and so on. So I think that was a good way to do it. And then here I had some pretty, I tried to think up some entertaining lines, some clever lines about what the customers could be saying. Like this one guy says, "My son comes home from college and tells me he's a pacifist now, so I decide to put him to the test. I slap him in the face, and before I know it, he knocks me out cold. Thank God." She's like, "Check, please." He's loving the fact that his son kicked his ass. Of calling him, after he called him, after he slapped him for him calling himself a pacifist, he was like, "Thank God he's not a pacifist." And then he got this woman talking to a guy, and now she's content being a common waitress in a goddamn restaurant. And the guy says, "I'm sorry, sir. Please don't take it personally." He goes, "No problem. I'm not a waitress." As in, it must be worse being a waitress than a waiter. You can call it sexist, but it's a fine line to me. And then this one other guy's like, "What motivates me? Fear. Fear of being mediocre." She's like, "You must be scared shit." Oh, come on. I'm joking. It's fun. I like those type of things. And then here you got 3 boobs. 1, 2, 3. I try to make 3 boobs there. And this is funny. It's a real cartoon character. I'm going to skip through a few here. A few more. And then I think I'm going to just leave it on something. And then you guys want to chat. Let me know. We can go back and forth. Unless you guys got something going on. out there. Here's a conversation. Here's the table for one. The woman who comes in, and it's the whole background's there, right? All the details in there, and then as the conversation starts to flow, the background gets a little lighter, a little lighter, a little lighter till it turns full white, and they're in their own world at this point. They're completely focused on each other. Everything else is just tuned out. Um, except Richie's there. Anyway, so let me skip a few more. I'm going to leave it at this page actually because I like the way this page came out. And there's not much to say here, but just a point of the dialogue, which I thought was sparse and effective, where I hope you guys are able to see what I was showing you before. Sorry, guys. He goes, Richard just called a meeting in the wine room, and he's scratching his ass, the guy. And Will's like thinking about Ven. He's like, oh man, 'cause she burned him a few times, and he's not too crazy about getting back. But he goes, Richard just called a meeting in the wine room, and what's between you and that lady? And he says, everything. And everything is between them, you know. Also, I clearly put it there for a reason, not just to make it into a nicer place. I put it between them, like just step off. Everything's between us. You'll know nothing about it. And then they go down and to set up the meeting in the wine room, and I showed the wine. This is how my uncle's restaurant was, with a really nice wine room, by the way. It went across the entire room. A lot of wine was put in there. He really took pride in that place. I remember, I'm not talking out of school. I haven't seen him in years, but I was interested in being an actor for a bit. I was going to acting school in Manhattan and stuff, and reading scripts and trying to possibly doing, bit part here and there, and showing up in The Fisher King and also a Whitney Houston video, believe it or not. And then I gotta say, I just asked myself, what do you really want to do? Because I was going back and forth on a number of things, singing, band, here, there, directing. And I said, comics. I said, that's my first love, and I think that's it. I want to write and draw stories that are uniquely my own. I'm not going to try to give a publisher what they want. I want to do what I want, and hopefully they publish it. That was my thinking, at least. And so he, when he found out, because he was invested in it somehow, he was interested in me trying to go out there as an actor. He goes, so what's going on? I said, I'm not interested. He goes, not interested. Not interested. Not interested. I thought that was, he was bothered by it. And then I went to school for a number of years, 4 or 5 years, I think at least, night classes mainly, and just learning on my own how to write and draw. And I was taking writing classes and drawing classes, and everything helped. I mean, without those classes, I don't think I'd be where I am today, especially going through all those stories, and also writing exercises to the point where you write just to write. It's not for publication. You're just writing. You're exercising your writing skills, your thinking skills, your story skills. And that will never see the light of day. And that's part of the process. So yeah, guys, if you guys want to chat here, I'm all ears. I can go back and forth. If you have any comments, let me know. If not, I guess I'll call it a night, because I can get some work done. I'd rather interact with you guys. If you have, I guess, Ballers is on tonight. Is that the idea? If you're here, let me know, guys. Otherwise, I think I might just get going. I just want to talk about a few of these things with this book. It means a lot to me, this book. It really, it set me up in the comic book industry. And another thing also to mention, there was a time when we had the previews. Remember the previews catalog, the real thick catalog, hundreds of pages. Marvel, DC, and everyone had the big ads and everything. They had covers by different companies, usually Marvel, DC, and I was interested in getting in there. I didn't want to just. I wanted to give myself a best shot that I could to succeed with this book. So I bought an ad, a full page ad, and but before that, I went to one of those small press conventions. As I mentioned, it was either MoCA or SPX. Probably SPX in Maryland, probably. And I know that Diamond had a little presentation there. And I said, okay, I'm going to show them what I got. I think I made a Xerox copy of this. And I think at that point, it was the gray wash one. Because, of course, I initially did it all black and white. And then I did the gray wash version. And I showed them. It was Steve Leaf and someone else. I remember his name. Cool guy. And they were looking at it, and they looked at each other. And they were like, okay. And they were just basically said, okay, I think we're going to. Good, John. I'll be done soon. Again, it's just about going through literally panel by panel and trying to improve it. And I'm going to start to show on. Do you follow me on X, John? If you don't, follow me on X, because you'll start to see, besides the whips that I'm doing, the works in progress, little drawings that I post, I'm gonna post panels and images and pages that are for the remaster. So check it out. Follow me on X, and you'll see there. It's funny. I don't like to say too much about what I'm posting when it comes to drawings. I just want to keep it very, simple. WIP, work in progress. So you'll be seeing those if you follow me up on X. And I might post some on YouTube, but I forget, first of all, I forget that I have a YouTube channel again, because remember, it's my third one. And I forget that you can comment. But the comments, they don't allow you to show as much visual as I would like. You have to click it twice, I think, to see the full visual. But yeah, John, it's going well. And it's, it's interesting because it's like, I'm tempted to, I don't know, not change it too much, no, but I look at it, I'm like, okay, that can definitely be made better. And I hope I can maintain a consistency. I hope it's not, to the trained eye, it could be like, okay, that was different than the other art. I don't want to do that. I want to integrate it all. I wanted to make it look like seamlessly. Like Table for One is a seamless piece of work. I did it. This one, it's 15 years later that I'm doing this. It's a long time. It's a long time. Now, in 2018, I made a few slight changes in Table for One, which was 14 years after it was published. A few slight changes. But they were pretty seamless. So I'm hoping that's the case here. A part of me just doesn't want it to make it look too different, because I've seen artists do that. I've seen Frank Miller do that, where in the opening of Sin City, right, he has Marv, and he's a pretty built guy. By the end, he's a monster. He's a giant, and he's like the Hulk, basically. Okay, John. But yeah, that's the place that I'll be posting images, new images of that, and the current project that I'm working on. I'm going to show you something quick here, guys. Let me see. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Yeah, because I post images of like this. And let me show you. I can show you, I guess, here. I hope you guys don't hear me twice because of the, I hope not. But you tell me if you do. It'll be annoying. Mikey, how's it going, man? Yeah, I was just talking a little about Teal its origins, and let me get back here and then pull this up. I guess I can do it here. Okay. This is something that I'm doing right now. Um, 285. I think I'm at page 285. The biggest book I've ever made yet. Table of Form was 81 pages. Pigman, over 100 pages so far. And then it'll probably be against probably 300. But this is the current one that I'm doing. And again, these are works in progress. They're detailed roughs. Oops. Okay. Here also. I don't. It's funny. I've said it before. What it is, but I want to keep it close to the vest still, until it's officially announced. I'm like, okay. I just don't want. And there's a reason why also. There's some stuff going on. But anyway, besides that, thanks, Mikey. Yeah, it's supposed to be to me when I was designing this character based on the novel. You know, a stunningly attractive woman. Hey, Plush. Love the noir vibe of Teal One. Definitely on the list when you campaign again. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun, man. It was really, really fun to do. I guess I gotta. Did I put it down here? Okay. Let me knock this out and put this back up. Okay. Let me go back here. I'll leave it here. You guys want to chat a little until I get going. I'll just leave this page here. It was one of more dramatic compositions, and it worked well because again I got some information in there, and showed the transition between the back room where would make all the coffee to the main the wine room, which I haven't shown yet up until this point of the story. It's where the final showdown with at least with all the workers, not just with Will and the boss, but with all the workers. And it's fun. It's fun to do these type of things, and again, just to make it as sound looking, make it sound. The perspective's got to be right. The gray wash got to be right. The shadows, everything, make it more impactful. And it works. It works as a page, as a composition, and it's fun. And again, if you notice, yeah, I don't busy stuff up. I'm not a Jim Lee. I'm not gonna make 100 lines on Will's face there. I won't do that. But I'll put the essential detail, the dirty walls. And it was fun also doing a gray wash because I think the things that inspired me most in terms of doing a gray wash was the Alex Toth, Steve Ditko, eerie and creepy comics. Beautiful, beautiful gray wash. Um, that really was stunning to me. Uh, Ditko was great also, and I believe he must have done it. I know Toth did it for sure. Um, Ditko, he started lettering, I think, when he was doing his own stuff in Mr. A. And I guess he also gray washed that because it just said artist, Steve Ditko. So yeah, this is thanks, Mikey. Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. I was on Graham's show. I think one of his closeouts for his recent closeout, and he was talking about Roy Crane, the great Roy Crane, who I have a few books here actually, beautiful stuff. Um, how he had like almost always like a very simple horizon line, like it was geared towards the viewer's eye. He didn't want to go too high or too low, and that's fine. But for this tip for Pigman, of course, I changed it a lot. But also for the current project that I'm doing, a lot of it is conversations, heavy duty conversations, philosophy, and again, um, I'm one that if the dialogue's good, I don't care how much it is. I don't care how much dialogue there is. If it's good, and this is great dialogue, so I'm just trying to simplify it. That's my job, to simplify it and visualize it more. That's it. And I just cut actually 5 or 6 pages from my script. And it wasn't that hard to do, believe it or not. I was painstakingly trying to cut it a little while back. And I told myself, I can't cut this. And the old day, I was like, I can cut these 5 pages with no problem. It won't take away from the story. And it might even help, because the next scene, I think, is more impactful than that one, going from the one prior. Now, you don't want bang, 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 bang without any kind of, calm moment. You don't want that either. You want to earn the buildup by bringing the story down a little here and there. But it's fun, man. It's really, again, I'm on page 285. It'll end up being 350. And I hope that they will listen to me and push it even further, because I had to fight for 350. I told them at one point 450, maybe 500, and they were open to it, because we've seen graphic novels that are that much. I mean, Blankets from Craig Thompson, 500 pages, unwarranted. Why? Why was that 500 pages? The story doesn't warrant that. And then Habibi, he did a follow-up, a half-assed attempt to, I don't know, talk about Islam in some capacity. Sucked, first of all. Another 400 to 500 page book doesn't warrant it. The one I'm doing right now warrants 500 pages, I think, at least. But if I can get 450, okay. And if I can do that, please. It's like, a part of me also wants to see what I can do in terms of asking them at some point, could we crowdfund this? I haven't talked about it, but I'm like, because I want to be more than it is. I want it to be, again, if I see a book that's 500 pages or 1,000 pages, right? Bone, like 1,000 pages. I think the book that I'm doing right now is worth that. At least. I'm not saying it'll be 1,000 pages, no. But what I'm saying is I want it to be a substantial book, a heavy book, on my bookshelf. I mean, there's some pride in there also. You can have your books on there. It's something about it. It's awesome to know that you made this. This is your work, and I love seeing the stacks of pages also. You keep adding to it, and it's a big fat stack at this point. And once I finished the script also, that felt a point of pride. It was like, okay, because it's really hard to take this great book, this novel, and just break it down and try to make it still make sense and be impactful. But I cannot do every page. I can't, literally. I can't. I had to cut a lot of flashbacks, had to cut a lot of stuff. Things that I think I made some pretty good choices. Looking back, we'll see what happens. Maybe you're like, shit, I should have got rid of that, and so on. But right now, again, I just got rid of 5 pages. I'm fine with it. I can live with it. I got no problem. And it wasn't a worthless scene at all. It was fine, but I don't think it was essential for my telling of it. And let me just show you quick. There's a fight scene, and here also, I got a chance to open it up. And this is something, right? I was breaking a rule in a sense here. I was breaking a rule here. Yeah, Marcus. I mean, 1,000 pages are close to it. Should only be in omnibus, I think. I know. A collection of all these things, but in the end, this would be, the one that I'm doing. It could have been. I'd love to see it leather bound with an embossed line hardcover. Are you talking about 201 or? Because I get a lot of extras also. I can do like 100-page. Would that warrant a nice hardcover? I guess it could. But a page like this, guys, like I think I broke something here. I broke a rule, and I didn't mind it, and I was conscious of it. I was like, okay, you always go left to right in comics, always, right? It's abnormal to go right to left, but I made it on purpose because it's unnatural for him to do what he's doing here. He's walking away from something. It's not natural for him. He's a fighter. He's not going to let things sit. So that's why I made it go, boom, going left with that big black bar there also. And just to show that there's something off here. Um, I thought that was effective. And then, he's like, no, hell no. I think I'll leave it there. I don't want to show too much more. For those who haven't read it and who ordered it on the Pigman campaign, someone wanted me to add it to the Pigman campaign. I was like, I can do that? I guess so. Cool. Make it part of the campaign. Cool as hell. And then I also made propaganda when I found 2 more boxes at least. I think it's two boxes, which I thought I ran out of them. Hey, Wallypuss. Okay. Oh, Angel, looking and sounding great and cuddly as always. I answered, and I need to exit now. Good night. Good night, Wallypuss. You take care. Be well. That's very sweet. Yeah, Marcus, it's funny. I'm gonna push it. I had to fight them on, and again, these people, the ones that asked me to do this, right? We had a discussion. They've been nothing but great, supportive, loving what I'm doing and all that. I'm not saying like I had to fight them on this, no, but I did insist at one point. I said I think this deserves to be the one that I'm doing right now. Actually, thanks, Mikey. It was fun. That was again. It's like a romantic. This is funny, Marcus. This is so cool. So much of CG is image style comics. It's funny you say that. I mean, it seems like a lot of the guys are into the image stuff, and I could never bring myself to quite. Even when I was young, and image began, I was like, I was an instant critic. I liked what Jim Lee was doing on X-Men. I thought it was great. I thought it was dynamic. I thought it was really the closest we got to like a John Byrne type, Wolverine and Colossus and all that. It was just really good. He put a lot into it. A little pinup style at times, but overall really good, right? And Mark Silvestri loved him. McFarlane loved his Hulk, loved his cartoony Kirby homage. Did not like his Spider-Man at all. Hated Liefeld from day one. I still hate him. And when those comics came out, I was like, first of all, where the fuck's the story? I think someone mentioned like Wildcats today. I'm like, wow, Wildcats. Whoever loves Wildcats, ask yourselves this: does its creator love it? Does Jim Lee love it? No. Marcus says, I'm old. I love someone who thinks about real storytelling, not just the rule of cool. Cool shots, man. Cool shots. I get a little surprised, I gotta say, in these artists like Shanth and John, and they talk up the image guys a lot. And Shanth is a really good artist. He's far beyond what anything image, in terms of his skill, his ability, his language of comics, the way he speaks about it. I can't wait to get his books, but they don't look like an image, is what I'm saying. Now, the other one is conscious. He's very consciously doing it with Springball, he's very conscious of that. That's fine. That's the true homage to that. But strictly speaking, it's like, again, there has to be a balance there. It's storytelling, visual, written word, has to be a balance. It cannot be one over the other. It can't be writing or story over art, meaning, everything's focused on the writing and the art's not that good, or the writing is not that good and the art's great. And no. Or, like sometimes the time, I think at post, Mikey says, John drives me nuts with Rob. He's 10 times better than him. Only early image book I read was Spawn. It's a thing. I don't get it. I don't get idolizing someone who is your inferior. I don't get that. You want to aspire. I love Alex Toth. I don't draw like Alex Toth. I aspire to be on that level. I aspire to it. Um, Rob Liefeld inspired lazy comic book fans to think that they could become artists because that's what he did. He was a lazy guy who didn't put in the work, who got lucky with some shitty editors. He got in the door. He had Dan Green ink his first comic from I think the Uncanny X-Men, where it made it serviceable, at least in Marvel. I know he did the Hawk and Dove also with Carl Kessel, who really made him look better than he ever could have. He got really strong inkers, is what happened. And then when he got on his own, he realized, oh, he's terrible. Now, even then, though, compare that to like Jim Lee, like that's nowhere near as good as Jim Lee. Even then, Mark Silvestri also a natural, a true natural. He was a great storyteller with enough flash, but he was great storyteller, great anatomist, everything. I mean, he was just really a natural artist. And then on top of that, you have Rob Liefeld trashing John Romita Jr. and Greg Capullo, trashing them the whole day. How? It's impossible. It's so presumptuous on his part. It's ridiculous. Flady one says the Image Tactical. Hey, Flady, the Image Tactical team up books from Image I enjoyed, but they were more like a bag of potato chips versus steak. You can enjoy both, but only one is really memorable. 100%. It's some of those issues at least were good junk food. Nobody, and I mean nobody, not the ones who even pretend to love those comics, loves those stories. Nobody talks about those stories. Nobody. Nobody talks about how cool Youngblood is. No one talks about, man, that scene where, what's his name? I don't even know, Shaft or whatever. Man, where he did that one line, that was that one moment. Nobody does that. There's nothing there. And they cashed in on the moment as much as they could. They cashed in on the moment, almost fearfully, because they had built up their audience through another company, Marvel, and then they acted like they were mistreated. Mistreated by what? By saying this story is not that good. Maybe we can punch it up here. Maybe we could do this. It's like what? And then when they get to on their own, it's like, oh, you guys are 10 times worse in terms of story wise, in terms of storytelling than you ever were at Marvel. Marvel had some standards at least. They tried to get you in line. And then what does Jim Lee do? He does Wildcats, right? It's like I guess his version of X-Men. Youngblood is, I guess, his version of X-Force. Cyberforce, Wolverine, X-Men type thing. Shadowhawk, oh my god. Spawn is Doctor Strange / Spider-Man. Everything is derivative. Nothing is original. They didn't dig deep and say, okay, here's my opportunity to make my own thing. I'm not going to make a ripoff of something that I'm known for. But that's what they did. They just did ripoffs of something that they were known for. And what happens? Within a very, very short period, they do the Marvel. They go back to Marvel. And then Jim Lee eventually sells it all to DC. Sold his soul, sold his company, sold his character. And again, you want to talk about Wildcats? Okay. Ask yourselves where the creator of Wildcats is on Wildcats. Doesn't give a shit for them. Doesn't work on them. Sold them to a DC. They're forgettable. Anyway, believe me, I can go on about that, but it's like it was really bad because it collapsed the standards of storytelling in comics. It collapsed so many things. It inspired a lot of bad actors coming into this field that was a storytelling field. And they came in and bad artists made themselves believe because of Rob Liefeld, I can do it too. That's what kind of, it's like a inverted inspiration, meaning you're going to be inspired by the greats, by Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and Stan Lee and John Buscema and Frank Miller and, Alex Toth and Ramirez and all that. You can be inspired by them to step up, to look at their art and say, my God, that is so, I am so, the gap between me and them is so great that I have to really bust my ass here. Whereas Rob Liefeld, you look at that and say, oh shit, I could do that tonight. I could just scratch that out tonight. It doesn't demand anything of you as an artist. And that's why, it's nostalgia, really. I think a lot of these guys were a little younger, and they were turned on by it, like, whoa, whoa. And then again, I will say it again. The energy factor, right? They say, well, Rob Liefeld's got a lot of energy. I say, yeah, because he put no energy in learning how to draw. That's why all the energy is on the page. It's just scratch energy. Marcus Kilgore says, I had a friend who was a Romita Raider. Yeah, I remember the Romita Raiders. And they had to save New Mutants Annual 4 that Rob did. Yeah. So Romita was the art director of Marvel, and he had this Romita Raiders. I guess the touch-ups guys and doing little things and corrections and whatnot, right? Interesting. Flayed One says they drove the Stormwatch story off a cliff in issue 30, 30 issues. If I remember correctly, set the whole team to be female-led, had to call it quits with that mess. I just, I love comics, so I had to at least, okay, give him a shot. Meaning like Eric July, right? Give him a shot. Find out, does he have what it takes, right? Meaning you're there, you have a bias going, and you're like, I don't know, man. I don't like the way they did this. I don't like the way they acted like they were being mistreated. And I got to say, I don't think they were. I think they were trying to adopt this idea. Because Jack Kirby, those were absolutely mistreated. No doubt about it. After Jim Shooter got there, the standards were higher, the pay was higher, everything, the royalties, everything. It was so much better. And they acted like it was, the end of the world. It's like, fuck out of here. You guys are lucky. You got that audience. You're lucky you were working on Spider-Man, X-Men, and all these characters. You're lucky. And they acted like ingrates, really. And then, of course, they stupidly they quit Marvel and went to a DC and angrily said, we're quitting from you too, even though we don't work for you. It's like, that's retarded, Todd. It's retarded. So the spirit on one end you could like, because it's like he's going after the suits, whatever. That was when comics were still good, though. It wasn't like it was... Now, guys, if it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, during the communization of Marvel, and they left, bravo, man. That was the time to leave. Not when things were great back then. It's ridiculous. They were ingrates, really. Marcus Kilgore writes, they decided that they were insulted for Kirby and Ditko 100%. 100%. They were trying to use the actual mistreatment of Kirby and Ditko for their own benefit, to use that like parasites, because they were lucky to work on these icons, and I mean that, lucky. They brought a lot of attention to it. Sure, good. They let Todd McFarlane, who was a non-writer, as bad as Eric July, to write Spider-Man. That's lucky. Todd should have appreciated that. And he goes, like, editorial, how do you call it? They would come after me, tell me to change this. Yeah. You have this icon. You're not going to fuck around. You're not going to make anything in there. We're going to keep the standards somewhat high. And again, he also resented the Romita version. And it was sad to see Romita try to do a slight McFarlaneization of Spider-Man. He put a little extra lines and bigger eyes. It was really sad to see, because he recoiled from that at first, Romita. And eventually, I think the hires up. If you remember, guys, it was one moment, they had the Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man, right? And in 1 month, they all changed from the classic Romita style version to the McFarlane one. Huge eyes, extra lines. Within 1 month, you saw the highest contrast between the Sal Buscema drew one issue with the light, I guess it was maybe the light blue and the more simplified, stylized lines to the complete added unnecessary detail. And it did not work to me on any of the. It's like when Romita Jr. did that, and he still does it to this day. It's like it's sad to me to see this guy who took his father's version of Spider-Man, which was the perfected version of the Ditko version. Ditko created this brilliant design, right? Brilliant. And then Romita comes in there and perfects that. He takes that and says, okay, I want to make more sense of this. I want to make the webbing wrap around the body, make more sense of it. Make it like a symmetrical thing. Make it a cylindrical thing. Make it look like it wraps around the body. And on top of that, aesthetically make it to the point where if your arm is this way, right, and the webs are coming through, they're going in the opposite direction because it looks cooler that way. It looks more artistically appealing that way. It's not realistic per se. It's not like Alex Ross is bound by the reality of it. I got to make the web lines go that way always consistently. No, there's a way to do it, and I can talk about that also at a certain point. But let's see. It's a lot, man, guys. But I'm glad you're here, guys. I love talking about this stuff. So let me. Yeah, I broke this rule of left to right, right to left, because it was unnatural what he was doing. He was giving up the battle, more or less. And I thought that was a good way of showing it. Okay. That's exactly right, Marcus. Mikey says, Todd tried early on. I like the Billy Kincaid story where Spawn kills him and chains him up. The line, he made boys scream and girls scream, so I made him scream and scream and scream. I like evil dying. Sure, no doubt. I don't remember that actually, but yeah, I like that too. And again, there are moments maybe where it was interesting also. Remember when he bought those writers? It was Moore, Gaiman, Sim, and Miller. Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, or Gaiman, Frank Miller, and Frank Miller and Dave Sim. And I don't remember the quality in there. I don't remember. It was pretty forgettable. All those stories, really. It was early. Image was early Rippaverse, really. I mean, just with more splashy art. The stories were forgettable completely. There's nothing that I remember saying, man, that's great, man. Nothing there. You could Daredevil Born Again, the Gwen Stacy story, Searcher War. You got all these great moments in comics and great stories from Jack Kirby, from the Silver Surfer and Galactus, the Master Planner with Spider-Man, all these things, right? Nothing comes to mind with Image. Nothing of a great, wow, it was artists presuming themselves to be writers, focusing on the splash, on the slickness, on the cool lines and stuff, and making a killing, but doing nothing for the art form, pushing it further, I think, away from, because whatever people say about Jim Shooter, he was story. That was his thing, story. When Frank Miller goes to Jim Shooter and says, I'm going to kill Elektra. And Jim Shooter says, tell me the story, Frank. Tell me the story. Meaning, okay. If it's a good story. That's the whole thing. It's like, oh, you want to kill her? Okay, good. Go. No. He's like, what's the story? And then he's like, okay. Hell of a story. Hell of a way to go about it. What Image needed big time was a guy like Shooter in charge. They got one of their buddies, I think Eric Stevenson or something. I forgot who it was, but they got one of their buddies, one of their yes men. If they had a guy like Shooter to keep him in check, he would have realized, okay, I think these guys deserve a little more respect than some of the fans are giving them, because they know at least, okay, we know Jim's a story guy, so we know that we want to make these cool drawings, but we sure as hell want to. But they didn't. They didn't do that. While they were doing that, Jim Shooter was doing Valiant, and he got Jim Lee to draw a cover to one of those Core or something. I forget what it was, but let's see. Marcus Killigrew, you're exactly right about Liefeld. Yeah, I mean, it's just, plus he's an asshole on top of that online, he's a real jerk. Blocked me, He said something which I found offensive. He said something like, he was talking about artistic execution, how important it is. I'm like, you're talking? Like what? And of course, and then he said something along the lines of also where, how many comics have you sold? I said, not as many as you, unfortunately. And then he blocked me. But the guy is so unjust in terms of his lack of ability. He's like Eric July in a sense where he believes he's better than he is. He talks about things that I don't know it really should be. Hardcore, yeah. Right. That's right, Marcus. And they were the antithesis. Valiant was the antithesis of Image. And Image was more popular. Why? Visual medium, kids looking at it, cool shots. Valiant, even though they had some really good artists, especially Barry Windsor Smith, Archer and Armstrong, great stuff. And with Solar, Solar, the man of the atom. But Jim Shooter said, I think literally, he goes, we're going to outstory them. We're going to outstory Marvel, DC, and Image, and Dark Horse, if they were there at a time. We're going to outstory them. And he was right. And it was a really exciting time. You have the contrast, a high contrast of Valiant and Image right there for all to see. And I gravitated towards the stories. And again, if you had like a Jim Lee drawing one of those things, it would have been cool as hell, no doubt. At that time, at least. If you had him drawing, what was the character? Exo Man of War. If you had Jim Lee drawing that, even though that first issue was drawn great by Barry Windsor Smith, if you had Jim Lee doing that, it would have been awesome. And Mark Silvestri doing, let's say, I don't know, Harbinger or something. Even though Dave Lapham did a good job, a really rock solid job, good storytelling, a good story, really good stuff. And they were selling like hotcakes, if you remember, guys. They spiked in the secondary market. Remember that? $100 like for Harbinger #1 here and there, and it's like, whoa. It was an exciting time. And then, Superman dies, and then basically the comic books die. The oversaturation of everything, of 7, 8 different covers, even though I did, it's funny, I did 7 covers ultimately for Pigman. First time I ever did more than one cover, but there was interest in it, and I was like, cool. And I'll be making extra copies, at least of the 3 best-selling ones that I had. Let's see. A Man Called Plush says, I just learned about Kirby's Calabac. I wasn't too familiar with the new guys, but looking back, Calabac is unmistakably Kirby's looking at Superman, the animated series. Yeah, Calabac, the big, bestial, like, ape-looking alien. It's good stuff, man. Marcus Killigrew. Lee was taught storytelling by Carl Potts and Punisher. Potts laid out the book for Lee for over a year. That's interesting to know. I know that Carl Potts was an artist. Interesting. Because Lee, his early stuff was really good. Very, very exciting. That early issue with X-Men, I think Psylocke, and also with Captain America and Black Widow and Wolverine. Great. Just great. Fun. Exciting. Good storytelling too. Again, he had editors, he had a writer, competent writers, and and so on. And then when art R.T. Bear, when he inked, he brought something that Scott Williams didn't bring. Scott Williams more or less, I think, lays down what Jim Lee already has down, whereas Art brought a little more life to it, a little more cartoony nature. I don't know. I love that. The one in the Savage Land with Magneto and Rogue, great stuff. And I would have preferred if he had stuck with Jim Lee instead of Scott Williams. Mikey says Siegel and Schuster are the worst case Superman's a national icon diver. Yeah, that's right. Now, again, guys, you know, for the Image guys, I say they were mistreated. Siegel and Schuster, Kirby, Ditko, absolutely mistreated. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Those guys, decades later, after royalties, after all this, after basically being allowed to, okay, you want to draw Spider-Man like a creepy little thing with all lines, and okay, you know, meaning you're deviating from from the standard, you're deviating from our, you know, franchise, but okay. And he was acting like he had to fight the whole world for it. It's like, it wasn't even that good. And even McFarlane admits that he's not that good of an artist. He's a guy who overcompensated. He's a guy who made, you know, he had the kind of, how would you call it? Not authentic detail like Jeff Darrow and stuff, but he had the kind of cutting corner detail where it's scratchy stuff, scratchy detail, you know, a lot of lines, like Jim Lee at times, 100 lines on the face for no reason. No reason at all. Jenna says, that picture you did on Kings last week was amazing. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I'm going to pull it up here, actually. Give me a minute. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull it up here. 1 second. You know what? Let me pull this up here and then do that. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun. It was a pretty quiet Kings this week. A lot of the guys took off, and it was comic strips. That was the idea. Comic strips, and I drew Eisner's The Spirit. I love Will Eisner. Will Eisner, to me, is the ultimate role model for what a cartoonist should be. Ultimate role model. He's a guy who, and again, I think someone in the chat brought up that he looked like a Mr. Fantastic arm. I think he's right. It looks a little wonky, you know, that arm. It does, but you know, what are you gonna do? It's a 2-hour thing. You try to do the best you can within those 2 hours. But I really enjoyed the issues of, or I guess the collections of the comic strip, and then also comics did later on. I would love to have seen an adult Will Eisner do a graphic novel of The Spirit. I would have loved to have seen that, to see what he would do as an older cartoonist. But he was a guy who loved the medium, respected it, did not think like Ramita and others that it was going to collapse at any moment. There was no faith, no belief that it would be a viable medium at any point, you know. But I just love the character, love the never give up attitude. He's getting his ass kicked often, The Spirit, and he keeps getting back up. And that's what I loved about the Superman movie, the recent one, where people said, look, he's getting his ass kicked. Yeah, he did. And he kept getting back up and fighting back. He kept going. That's what you want your heroes to do. The idea where you're supposed to protect your heroes and just make them look cool at all times, no. You got to throw him into hell and make his way out of it. You know, Matt Murdock, the greatest story of Daredevil ever, is Born Again. He gets down into the gutter, low, broken, destroyed, and he gets back up again and again and again and again. And that's what I loved about The Spirit. And it's just a perfect name also. He has the fighting spirit. He has the spirit, you know. He had a, never die attitude. And when you meet him, I guess he dies, that first time, quote unquote, dies. But just cool as hell. And Eisner, again, he was a guy who, as a role model, I think was the ultimate because he respected the medium enough where he said, okay, he did it all. Wrote, penciled, inked, lettered, the comic strip, and then comics, and then graphic novels. You know, he did the whole thing. Toth never did comic strips. He ghosted a comic strip for a little while. Aquila, I think it was called. He ghosted it, but he said his main regret was that he didn't have a stack of comic strips. But he brought the sensibility of the comic strip greats into comics. That's what his, I think, great addition was in comics, because he brought the sensibility of the contrast, black and white, the storytelling, the good, rock solid drawing into comics. And there was a time where, Toth was the best, and everyone knew it. I think he's overall the best. At his best, I think he's the best. I think he's the greatest. But there was a time when everyone acknowledged it. I think even Joe Kubert was like, and Joe Kubert was a little older than him. He was like, there was nobody better than Alex. At one point, everyone knew it, and he was younger than everyone. It's amazing. Amazing. So thanks, John. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, guys, this is the drawing I did on Kings the other day. And it's funny, I was chosen. I had the lead on the votes, and then John was campaigning for it and got the lead. But as someone pointed out, John sold for 240, I sold for 400. And said, "Hey, man, bids don't lie. Bids don't lie, John." It's hilarious. Let me cut this out now. And just keep that page up. Give me 1 second. This is not interesting. Okay. Okay. Let me get back to your comments. I'm often told, don't talk comics, because no one listens. I love comics. I don't just say it. I love it. I want to talk about them. It's good back and forth here with you guys. This is a beautiful medium, and I can talk about a lot of things, sure, but I'm not going to avoid comics that is not popular. I don't care about that. I'm not doing this for super chats. I can't even get them now. It's my third channel, and I don't know, last year. I got a long ways to go to even get to that point. And even when I was able to get to that point, I was demonetized right out of the gate. So I mean, it's just, it is what it is. Marcus Kelger said, "That's right. You could see it in Sal Buscema really clearly." Tell me what you were referencing there, Marcus Kelger. Yes. Oh, the change, the literal issue by issue change from one issue, the more of the classic Romita to the McFarlane version within one issue. And I forgot what issue it was, but I think I made note of it on X at one point, just to show that it was an editorial edict, meaning they overrode whatever sensibilities artistic. It basically overrode Romita's sensibilities in art, because the editor's like, that's more popular right now. So John, for all the merchandise Spider-Man, we're gonna make it a little more McFarlane-esque. But he still retained most of the stuff. He still had the nose and mouth line, at least. He just made the eyes a little bigger. But he made extra lines on the body, but he eventually reverted back to what he did. And that's why I'm almost surprised again. Romita Jr. is still doing it. He's still doing his version of the McFarlane thing. And it's sad because the guy's almost 70 now, right? And when he had the fill-in artists who are still doing Spider-Man, when he doesn't do an issue, they're drawing it like his father. By that, I mean the classic nose line, mouth line. The eyes are not huge. The lines is no excess line work. And again, it's not about skimping on it. It's about getting it to look consistently rock solid. Beautiful looking. I'm going to show something. Where is it? Give me a second. I don't think I have it. man. Let me read a few more, and then thanks for chiming in, guys. Because I was gonna check out if you guys weren't going to chime in. I don't want to be here just talking alone about this stuff. John said, I would love to see Bosch do an X-Files type series in his art style. I mean, hell yeah. I can definitely see something like that, John. I got some ideas for stories besides, the current one I'm doing, Pigman. I got at least two or three strong ones. And again, I've had a lot over the years, but some have gone by the wayside. It's not, believe me, I used to tell myself, well, these are all pretty valid. Yeah, but some are just better than others. You want to commit to the ones that you know are better. That the stories are better. Marcus Kilgrew writes, in doing a 2-page story right now, I'm doing a 2-page story now that's supposed to be like Ditko, so I've been studying him, a genius. I mean, Marcus, I'm at issue 22 right now of my reread of the Lee Ditko. And I think at this point right now, he just stepped it up because he's been plotting, meaning he's writing all the stories at this point. From what I gather, from issue 10 to 38, he was writing all the plots and Stanley just added the dialogue. So there's this point, issue 22, I believe, it was with the ringmaster and his crew. They got rid of him. The clown took over. He did such a kick-ass job, and he also I noticed more than I ever have, that he got better and better and better. You look at the early issues, pretty crude, I gotta say. His art was getting better and better. And his design, again, Romita, I think, downplays his own work a little too much. I think he was a little too, unfortunately, he wasn't as confident as he should have been because he was great, all-time great. But I'm not sure if he could have created the Spider-Man costume. I just don't think so. That's genius quality creation. I mean, that is just so different than anything else. So unique looking. The full mask, the covered of the entire body, the webs on the arms, the black and red. Initially, it wasn't blue and red. I don't like the blue and red, really. I love the black, and they've retained the black ever since issue 241, when Romita Jr. put the black back on. It's been that way ever since, which is cool as hell. Now, some artists between that, maybe here and there, but it always goes back to the black. It just looks more dramatic. And he was a genius, Marcus. And he was very kind in his correspondence with me. Always a good attitude. He was never willing to say, though, even though he liked Hero Phone, even though he liked propaganda and liked the concept of Pigman, he was never willing to say so publicly. And he said, that's appeal to authority. It's like, I guess, technically speaking, but if you like it, if you actually like it, I'm not appealing to you. Just saying, can I use a quote? He wouldn't have it. It's like, again, I wasn't getting on him about it. I just said, I asked him, I'm a new artist, and it's like, I'd love to maybe get some eyes on this. He wouldn't do it, but he was always kind in his correspondence, always. Toth as well. Toth has his reputation as a curmudgeon, I guess. That wasn't my experience. I had a number of postcards, back and forth with him. So, but yeah, man, I'm at issue 22, I think 22, I believe so. I'm rereading it and just enjoying the hell out of it. It's so damn fun. That's Spider-Man to me. That is the quintessential Spider-Man, issue 1 to 38, the 2 annuals that they did. And then on top of that, Amazing Fantasy as well. And then, to me, the second best run was 20 years later with Roger Stern and John Romita Jr. They got Spider-Man, and Roger Stern in particular. He had the alpha version of Spider-Man. He was a superhero. He was very heroic. He had all the problems and all that, sure, but he was a little more mature and strong. If you recall, he didn't make him stronger than he was supposed to be. People always get surprised at Spider-Man's strength. He's strong as hell. And even in the last issue that I read, what was her name? The snake lady. I forgot her name. She was like shocked at how powerful he was. I love that aspect of Spider-Man. He's a slight person, he's 5'10", he's 165. And, he was a kid back then also. But the Roger Stern Romita one was strong, you know. I mean, he could lift 10 tons. In the official Marvel handbook of the Marvel Universe listed there, he could lift 10 tons. That's a super powered. When they say he's a street level hero, Spider-Man? No, he's a powerhouse. It's like, it's offensive when I see Kingpin holding up against Spider-Man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. Because he's big, so what? Spider-Man can knock him out with one punch. He can kill him. He can kill him with one punch. Mikey yet says, has anyone read Spider-Man Blue by Loeb and Sale? It's top 5 favorite. I always cry at the end. It's funny. I don't like Loeb. I don't think he's a writer. I think he's a placater. I think he writes like, hey, Jim, let's make all the cool characters. I'll write what you want. I don't think he's a great writer. I don't. Sale, while I like his gray wash, I don't like his art. I don't like the way he makes that weird ankles on characters and weird faces. His Batman was weird. His Superman was terrible. Like a big balloon, Macy's balloon. That's what he made his Superman. So I didn't get it for that. And again, Marcus, sorry. I know people don't like their things that they love to be put down, but I didn't find it appealing at all. I did like, though, that it appeared at least that he was trying to do a throwback Romita style, even though I think he got the lines all wrong. Meaning, when Romita does a Spider-Man mask, it's clear that he's putting the nose line and the mouth line there with that line part. Other artists think that, 2 lines, okay. So they put the distant part here and the other part there, so it looks really weird. It's not just 2 lines, it's where they're placed. It's where they're placed. And if you don't know what I mean, let me pull it up. Pull up, yo. Let me pull it up here. And I'll try to make it clear. I showed this the other day on one of the streams, and I'm going to show it again. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. I guess I got it here. Pretty damn cool. See, sometimes these things just pull right up. And some of you may have seen me do this already, but I'm going to just show you what I mean here. This is what I mean about the Romita version. And again, you're not bound by the way he exactly did it, but it's just that I don't mind the white of the eyes a little bigger than Romita did it. I don't mind that at all. I just don't like the huge, when the half the mask is filled with the eyes. That's retarded. I mean, it's just really, really bad. And then, because Romita Jr. took his Follows version and stylized it a little further. He made the eyes a little more sharper, edged, a little more warped. He gave him a little more build, and he added the blacks back, issue 241. And so this is my take on the Romita, that there was a human face there, and it was always pretty consistent. That get the nose line and the mouth line. And again, it's not just 2 lines, it's where they're placed. And I think Tim Sale and others sometimes did it 2 lines, but they put, again, this line down here and that line down here. And it looked really weird, like a long face. And again, this also, you see? That is technically, quote unquote, incorrect, right? The web lines here. But it is asymmetrical. It is like a cylindrical look. It looks better than it would the other way. The other way looks, again, it looks wrong to my eyes, aesthetically speaking. It's technically correct. The lines will be always going down. Someone actually, Aaron Lepresti, True Spider-Man, posted it, right? And one guy says, I'm a stickler for the webs. You did it the opposite way. He's like, no, he did it aesthetically proper. And I had to mention it to the guy. I said, check out this video. Clearly people are just stuck in their ways. But Romita understood, if I'm going to make the arms turn a certain way, I'm going to make the webbing go in a more aesthetically pleasing way. Again, if you don't know what I mean, when the lines they will be like this, loopy the other way, and it looks wrong aesthetically speaking to my eyes. This looks right and tight. Something about that tight look, and again the mask, nose line, mouth line, the consistency of that, because you don't have a human face, so you might as well try to push the mask into a human face. Manipulate it into at least to suggest a human face, and that does it for me. And when you're looking at on the profile as well, you could see that. I did a little a video about that on my YouTube channel, and I put it on my new channel as well. You guys can check it out. It's about a half hour. I'm going through the Romita's and how they took Spider-Man's design next level and what they did. And I go through the whole process and I discuss it, and it's fun. It's really fun. So let me go through here. Yes, hardcore. A man called Plush says, "Oh crap! I think I remember Miller telling this story about going to the boss, wanted to kill Elektra, so that was Mr. Shooter Legend." Yep, that's right. I love that idea, man called Plush, because he's like, and Frank Miller's relaying this, and you know, Jim Shooter got a lot of shit, especially from Byrne. Byrne was a real asshole about it. I mean, real asshole. It's like you're lucky you worked under a guy like Jim Shooter, John. Lucky. And again, John Byrne, to me, all-time great. Asshole or whatever, that's not all-time great. He inspired many people to become comic artists. Many people who wanted to be good comic artists, unlike some of the other guys. They inspired negatively. They saw shit art and said, I can do that. Whereas you look at Byrne, you're like, holy shit, I got to step up big time if I want to come close to that. He inspires us to reach our own potential, to step up, not to settle with what, hey man, if he can do that shit, I can do that shit. Terrible, terrible lesson. But that's what happened, and again, the energy factor, right? His art has a lot of energy, yeah, because he put no energy in learning how to draw. Again, I will repeat that till the end of days. It's all on the paper, like, yeah, huh? It's like, yeah, it sucks. It's lifeless. Yeah, it's just so cool, Miller going in there and say, Jim, I guess call him Jim, I'm going to kill Letrios. Tell me the story, Frank, and then I'll tell you if you're going to kill her more or less, And he was like, okay. Because that issue, I think, is Miller's strongest single issue ever. Issue 181, Daredevil, with Bullseye and Elektra and the Kingpin. Great. So damn well done. So well written. And impactful. And then you got, Daredevil. All things considered, she became evil, she became part of the Hand, all that, right? And still, he tells Foggy, she's dead, Foggy. She's dead. And he's just breaking down. And Foggy hugs him and they start walking, in spite of it all. Powerful stuff. Powerful. Marcus Kelly, I remember everything. That's right, man. I wouldn't have got that one actually hardcore. I think actually I got it recently on one of the streams where somehow I got it back in my mind. So pretty cool. I got it right once. Flatey One says the variant covers is just an industry standard now. Not a big fan of it, but I understand it, and I do try to grab as many as I can. I get it too, Flatey. I mean, that's the thing. People were asking and stuff. I was like, okay, I could try some other ones and maybe bring a little more attention. And I thought having that final fold-out cover as the final, it was like a 12-hour cover, more or less. It wasn't even a 24-hour cover. Was a good way to bring a little more attention. And, I ended up getting at least 50 backers, I think, that night. Ended up with 400 backers. Did not expect to get that on that night, I got to say. So I lucked out big time. And not just that, but, Shanth and Shane helping me that last night. Big time kudos. I mean, they were very helpful. So thanks, guys. I know. Yeah. Okay. Marcus says, I had Will at SVA for 3 years. I missed him, man. I missed him. I heard when I got there that a number of years earlier he was there. I was like, fuck. I missed him, I would have loved to have been there. And he said he wasn't interested in Spirit when he was older. I get it. I get it. But the point is, I think he could have also made a kick-ass story as an older Spirit. Maybe Denny Colt coming out of retirement at some point. I'm not talking about Dark Knight style, but something that he could have brought more with his older age, a little wiser, maybe not as a real, I don't know, just something different. Would love to have seen it. That's all. Because it's just one last hurrah type thing, you know. Um, Beowulf 13 says, I like clean faces. I think when you start adding too many lines, it either ages them up or it's a distraction. It all depends on the artist. So yeah, for sure. I think so too, especially for women, Beowulf. You don't want to fuck around with women's faces. You want to keep them as simple as you can. And also youthful faces. You don't want to keep them too busy. Older people, sure. I got one character right now. He has more wrinkles than any other characters. Not necessarily that much older than them, but he has lived a hard life. So I want to convey that, you know. He has the hard lines here and the forehead and the eyes and the eye bags, and he just has more. He looks a little older. Fleeting One says, "Why do we get knocked down, Master Bruce, so we can get back up or something like that?" Yeah, it was Alfred. And guys, remember the one scene in Batman Begins, which was so damn good. You got young Bruce, the aftermath of his parents' murder, right? And he's devastated. And not just that, but he's guilty. He feels guilty. He goes, "It's my fault. It's my fault." Alfred's like, no. It's his fault and his fault alone. He needed to tell him it's his fault and his fault alone. It's not your fault. And he goes, "I missed him." He goes, "I do too." You know. But man, it was so damn good. It's his fault. It was his fault and his fault alone. He needed to tell this kid who's broken at this point, you know, devastated. And still, as an older man, he's still, when he's talking to Ra's al Ghul about it, he's like, you know, he still felt the guilt. He still felt it because he got out of the theater. He was afraid of the bats on screen. In the play, his father probably had him there. He wasn't just thoughtless. I think he put him in there to try to confront him with his fear. Probably, right? And, you know, his fear led them to leave the theater. Of course, that horrific thing that happened. And then, yeah, why do we get knocked down, Bruce? So we can get back up. Yeah, I think that was that's the gist of it, Flavy. And he tells him again at the end of Batman Begins, when they're burning down Wayne Manor, Ra's al Ghul and his whole gang. And he tells him, he goes, to pick ourselves back up. I think to pick ourselves back up. I think that's the line, actually. Mikey Getz says, "I only have the 75-year celebration of the Spirit. They never reprinted. I have the same problem with Martian Manhunter. I literally have all trades, and it's like 16 DC acts like he doesn't exist now." Yeah, I don't remember too many. I think there was some I couldn't get into, but I don't know. He hasn't had his guy yet, like Miller, Daredevil, Byrne, X-Men and stuff. Martian Manhunter hasn't had his real great run, I don't think. It could be an interesting character. I mean, it could be an interesting comic, but never quite did it. Beowulf says, "The new Superman was getting beaten by a stronger opponent. Lex said he augmented his strength but made him dumber, so he's basically fighting handicapped strength Superman." Absolutely right. That's a good point, Beowulf, because again, the Zeros and others trashing it and say, "Oh, he's always getting his ass kicked." Yeah, I mean, but he's getting back up. And he's facing it down. He's like, where's due? He gets knocked down in the beginning, right? We see that. And it's a genius move on James Gunn because every writer will say it to you. Superman is just tough to crack, man. He's too strong. He's just that, right? They all say that, always. He's like, okay, I'm going to have him landing to Earth hard as hell, bloody broken. My Superman is strong, but he'll get his ass kicked at times. And as Beowulf mentions, that's true by a stronger opponent. It's worth noting. Hail Lux. Hail Jimmy. Mikey. Thank God, Bosh. I love talking comics. Me too, Mikey. And again, I'm told that it's not the thing to do. I look at my work, guys. I do what I want to do. I mean, um, reward or not, you know. Meaning, when I decided to do Pigman, I knew that there's no chance in hell I could get to the mainstream. But hey, man, that's life. Beowulf says 1 Dale Keown, 2 Joe Mad, 3 Alex Ross, Clayton Crane's my top 4 favorite artists. I'm also a big fan of Barry Windsmith and Neil Armstrong. Interesting lineup there, Beowulf. Interesting. Dale's great. Joe Madrier is great. Alex Ross is great. Clayton Crane. I know. Fairly modern artist. Interesting. Marcus Kelger says Sal's changes in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 153, I think. That sounds right. Marcus. Interesting. That's a pretty exact number. Marcus Kelger, Ditko's Doctor Strange is unbelievable. It is. I mean, it is. It's, again, inimitable, meaning this is, nobody else could have done that. I don't think Kirby could have done that. I don't think anyone else in Marvel could have done that. Those weird worlds and backgrounds and, I don't think anyone else could have done that. The quirkiness of it all. Jimmy Lumberjack says, Bosh, I saw that spring ball pick you did for Shanth. It was awesome. Great job. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It was fun to draw. I just owed it to Shanth. I mean, he's been so supportive of Pigman and made that incredible trailer. I said, you know what? That's the least I can do. I drew it. I sent it out there, and I gave him the original. So very, very cool. It looks like a fun book, man. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Mikey notes the idea that people said that, Ditko maybe was, or at least people were inspired by Doctor Strange to do mushrooms and whatnot. And Ditko was a little appalled by that idea. I'm like, oof, that's not what, that wasn't his intention, clearly. Pretty funny. Beowulf 13 says, in the mid-2000s, they powered him up to 15 tons. Spider-Man? Is that right? Is that only when he had the cosmic power? Or because if that's the case, then think about this also. A street level character? I mean, come on, guys. He's a powerhouse. He kicked Firestorm's ass also, if that was his name. Firelord or Firestorm? Firelord? Firelord. I think Firelord. One of the Galactus's heralds came to Earth to have pizza. Remember that? He loved human delicacies. Hilarious. Big Harry Nuts 2.0. I simply love your artwork, and I love Stan Lee for making my childhood because he was a really good person. He was also wanted everything nice and right. He was also a kind person. I don't like how some people accuse him of being a liar. Reposted this stream. Thanks, Big Harry Nuts. You know what? It's he does have a mixed legacy. Stan Lee. I think he was great for Marvel. I think he was like the ultimate promoter, and he was, fun and entertaining. But he did try to take too much credit, I think, for what was done at Marvel from Kirby and from Ditko. It was, not that long ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was like a documentary in the UK where he tried to take sole credit for Spider-Man. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Because he sent the idea Spider-Man, just a name, right, to Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby came back with a very Captain America looking character with a mask open, with a mouth and nose, swashbuckler style, similar to Captain America, really. And then he was like, that's not quite what I want. He throws it to Steve Ditko, and Steve Ditko comes back with this, something that Stan Lee did not tell him to do. Draw the eyes and the webs. He didn't say that. I got a character named Spider-Man. Let's see what you got. He comes back with the web shooters and all that. Everything. And Stan Lee, unfortunately, tried to take more credit. He was a credit monger. That's true. Big Harry. He was great, and he was also a credit monger. And he shouldn't have been, because were he honest about it, he could have said, you know what? I did throw the name Spider-Man out there, and these guys came back with two completely different ideas, and I loved Ditko's, which is the case. I mean, Ditko's idea for Spider-Man was superior to Kirby's. Not, and you could say, well, are you saying he's superior? No, in that particular case, yes. Only Ditko, I think, could have done Spider-Man the way it was. And again, that's my favorite Spider-Man, regardless of the fact that I love the reinvention of the suit by Ramita. Ditko Spider-Man is the quirkiest, the funnest. The Paul Smith, the great Paul Smith, the artist of X-Men, said he's like a bouncing ball through the city. That's how he envisioned it, and it's exactly true. That's how he came off. Um, Mike Getz says that's why I love Frank Miller too, for killing Elektra and making Kingpin a Daredevil villain. Spider-Man would kill him. It was genius on Miller's part, and also ridiculous that he wasn't a Daredevil villain up until that point. We're like, wait a minute, that was almost 20 years, maybe 15 years of the Kingpin's existence, right? And he wasn't around when Daredevil was around. He wasn't in Daredevil's orbit at all. Very strange. He's so much more fitting for Daredevil because Daredevil's, outside of the fact that he can hear, smell, touch, and feel all that, super powered wise, right? Physically, he's just a strong guy, but as strong as a human can be almost. That's it. He can lift maybe a little more than the average human, but not much. He can give a Kingpin a fight. He can give him a fight. Get his ass kicked here and there, but also Spider-Man can just, again, Kingpin is nothing to Spider-Man. Nothing. No, he's not an opponent to him. It's ridiculous. Marcus, I didn't smoke weed. I didn't smoke weed in my youth. Weed and comics are the best combo ever. Hilarious. Thanks, Big Heart. And again, it's a mixed legacy. Again, credit-wise, he tried to take more credit than he should have, unfortunately. I think he tried to take full credit for Galactus and Silver Surfer, which that was Jack Kirby's creation. It was. So, not cool, man. Not cool. And while saying that, I can say I loved what he did at Marvel. I loved the fact that, the legacy of Spider-Man. He's such an important character. I mean, you think about it, it's Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. Those are the icons. They're all top tier. Spider-Man reached that level. 20 years later, I mean, he was created, almost 20 years later, 25 years later, and then ends up in a team up with Superman 10 years after he's created, just about. Maybe 15 years, maybe. Just about, right? Meaning he got to that point where he became an iconic character. That was due to the buildup with Lee and Ditko and then Ramita and so on. And he became an icon of icons at Marvel. He's the guy at Marvel. He's great. I'm going to read a few more comments and then I'm going to get going, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it, guys, as always. And again, if you are interested in any original art, I got these two here. I have the fold-out cover, Pigman. If anyone's interested, let me know. Message me on X. And I also have this old alternative cover to Tale of One. Let me know. If you like original art, this is 14 by 17. Because I don't know if we're going to have auctions on Ethan's anymore. Because we have them every Monday now on the Comics Get Kings. Not complaining about it. I'm just saying, like, we do the original art live on the air and sell it. This is something that's 24 years old now. That sounds right because I finished the book 2001, 2002, published it 2004. So. All right, guys. Okay, Beerwolf13 says about Clayton Crane. He did Ghost Rider, X-Force, and Carnage. Carnage. That's what I remember his name. Yes, Beerwolf. Carnage. That's what I remember. I couldn't get the name, but I thought Venom or the red guy, Carnage. He's not the best person. He's a wife stealer. What the hell? But Clayton Crane blew me away when I first saw him. He's a wife stealer. What the hell? That's interesting. Mikey says Alan Moore wanted to write Martian Manhunter, but they made him do Superman, such an underrated character. That could have been interesting. Very interesting. Okay. No, when he was mutating into a human spider when he was reborn in the 2000s. See, I did check out of some stuff. The clone stuff. Mark Bagley, he's great and all that. They say, I never saw it. I don't like his version of Spider-Man at all. It's like I don't know what it is. It's like a polished version of McFarlane's. I don't know. Don't really like it. Mikey says Stan was defending himself in the searching for Steve Ditko doc. He says, I think the guy that thinks of the idea first is the creator. Yeah, but he's wrong about that, Mikey, because he's wrong about that. That's not the creator. The creator, it's a co-creation, objectively. The name meant nothing outside of Ditko creating the webbing with the red and black suit, the webs on the arms with the web shooters, and then also writing the bulk of the stories, plotting, penciling and inking, the bulk of them, at least 28, if not more, of those issues. So yeah, I don't buy that. First of all, it's not true. It's like if I go to someone and says, okay, I got an idea, character post 9/11, Pigman, and someone comes up to me and and they draw this thing. Their visualization of it is part of the creation. It's not just my word. It's not just me saying Pigman. It's like, oh. And then if that person said, you know what? How about we give him Pixie and Leather? I'm like, holy shit, that's perfect. So it's a co-creation at that point. If I require an artist to draw what I'm asking him to draw. Stan Lee didn't say, I want the white eyes or the black around them. I want webbing. I want red and black suit. He didn't say that. He said, I have a character called Spider-Man. Let's see what you got. That's it. He designed, he visualized, based on a single word, a name, this incredible design. And he was defending himself in a defensive way, I would say, Mikey. Marcus Kilgore said, the oddest thing about Stan Lee is that he's the one who started the credit boxes. No one knew the artist before that. That's interesting. And it's true. And it got to the point where even I'm at issue 2022 rereading the first run of Amazing Spider-Man, and it's only the letterer outside of Stan Lee and Steve Ditko who gets credit. It's either Artie Simek or Sam Rosen, and they wouldn't even put the first names like S. Rosen, A. Simek, and now it's starting to be Artie Simek and or Simek, whatever. But there's no colorist mentioned. I think at some point, if I'm not mistaken, it starts to mention a colorist. But yeah, it's important, man, to know. I think some people said something along the lines of, I think it was an interview with Jeremy Skinner that I saw recently, Comic Historian, I think it's the channel. Good interview with Jeremy Skinner, and also with John Buscema, where he's talking about where Romita's talking about people thought that they were made from machines, like comics. It's like it's too intricate, the art. Like those are human heads, They're like, what? The average person, the layman, like, what? They thought it was crazy, like all that fine detail and all the dialogue and all the, some reason the general public, at least according to John Romita back in the day, thought that. That's interesting. If that is the case, Okay. Okay, Mikey. Mikey says, no, I agree. Stan is wrong. Spider-Man wouldn't have hit without Steve. Correct. Okay, sorry. Because I know people are on the other side defending us, Stanley completely about that. It's like that's just not the case. Again, a great creator, a dynamo when it comes to energy, and an evangelist for comics, ultimate evangelist. Stan Lee. Great. Marvel needed that. DC didn't have that. They can say a lot about what Marvel and DC did, the difference between them. DC did not have a Stan Lee. You know, they didn't. They had great artists here and there, but they didn't have a Stan Lee to go out there and really bark it up, you know, and sell it and have fun with the audience and be engaged, be engaged with the audience at all times. Stand in soapbox and all that. Cool, Mikey. Yeah, I just want to make sure because cool. Yeah, it was the incredible mix of Lee and Ditka which made that series great, and it's still great. And yeah, there was one issue before the one I'm reading right now, 22. I wasn't that crazy about. A weaker issue, really. A little too much soap opera and not as much fun action, at least. But yeah, the monthly comic, it's just the way it's going to be. It's not going to be great all time, but overall, the best run of Spider-Man ever. The best run. The Lee and Ditko, hands down. That's Spider-Man. Anything else that came after is like gravy. If you can get some good stuff later, cool. And again, the lack of consistency, because you got Steve Ditko penciling it and inking and then plotting the bulk of it, right? It had a consistent look, even though it got better and better. He did get better and better. And I can see there, I think issue 22 in particular, it seems like he just stepped up a little more. Peter Parker was also looking a little more individualistic. He was wearing a different clothes in this issue. The glasses are out of the way. He's looking a little more like a romantic character, like Bobby Sox Idol almost. He had a black shirt with a white jacket. He was always wearing like the ties and the vests before that. So he's looking a little more stylish now. He's entering the stage where Ramita, and within what is it, 16 issues? I think Ramita comes in 17 issues. So you could tell that there's a little transition here. At that point, Marcus says, at that point, Stan Goldberg was coloring the Marvel line. Okay. He just wasn't credited, unfortunately. Because that's a job. And sometimes look at the color, it's like it's a little botchy. It's like, it looks like maybe the janitor, hey, janitor, get in here. We got to color this. Come on, let's go. That's what it looked like at times. Guys, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate it. I'd like to stream more than I do, and I'm sorry about that. I just want to, I got to find the time. I want to do it. I always appreciate the give and take. Love comics, love talking about them. I don't think it's a waste to talk about them. I don't think it's not cool. It's like sometimes, it's like, well, talk about comics, no one listens. I don't know. I just want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. I saw 2 movies recently. Just quick. I saw Weapons. It was good. Well done. I'm not crazy about horror movies per se, but I like some. I own some, well done. Well done. And it wasn't jump out of your seat scary and all that. It was just evil. More evil than anything else. More malicious and nihilistic than anything else. But also a monster. I mean, there's a monster in there. It takes on a different form, let's just say that. And also I saw Caught Stealing. I like Austin Butler. He played Elvis great. And it was good. It was fun. A fun time at the movie. Some heavy stuff going on there too. It was like, holy shit. A little, I don't know. You don't want to go too, all right, Mike, you take care. No worries. You're busy getting pigment to my mailbox. LOL. Absolutely, man. By the end of the month is when I intend to start getting it out there. So thanks for being here, guys. As always, I appreciate it. You guys take care. Be well. I'll see you guys maybe before Comics Day Kings or maybe not. We'll see. You guys take care of yourselves. Be well. Thanks.